You know, every time you invest your valuable resources of time, money, and energy into efforts that focus on the wrong things or that keep your business from growing, you not only miss out on the financial fulfillment of those efforts, but there's always a less obvious impact. I mean, most of us do what we do, at least partially, because it serves our customers in our own special and unique way. But have you ever considered that by not maximizing your potential, you're also not able to serve or help as many people as you otherwise could? Yeah, it's not the first thing that we think of when we falter or struggle. But for today's guests, it matters a lot. I've been fortunate to have a friendship with Gretchen and Bobby Harttown for almost a decade, and I was thrilled when they agreed to join us for an episode of the Clearing Obstacles podcast. This conversation about their real estate agency, Go Big Island Life, gives us a deeper insight to how their acute strengths as humans not only serve their professional lives, but how, like all of us, our strengths can sometimes get in our way. So we discuss a couple of strategies on how to leverage those attributes and bring more value to their relational skills by, one, improving their focus, and two, by leveraging the concept of the buyer's journey in their own marketing. So this is one of our longer episodes, and I think you'll find it worth every second. I can't wait for you to get a glimpse of how these common themes for business owners apply to their heartful passion of sharing the Big Island life with others. Oh, and as a side note, if you have a minute to go to clearingobstacles.com to download the graphic that we reference in today's episode 11, it might help you to follow along. Not necessary, but it might be helpful. And I also think you'll find your own use for it as well. All right, enough set up. Let's get to it and help you get there from here. Welcome to Clearing Obstacles, the podcast for leaders and those that want to be. You know, it can be a lonely journey when you find yourself confronted by challenges in business. So get ready to take a journey with me as together we'll hear the stories of real-life business owners and begin to unpack some common business challenges from real-life situations in a way that's both relatable and actionable for you. We bring to bear decades of entrepreneurial and coaching experience and a full toolbox of resources as we introduce you to those professionals who, like yourself, are working hard to build a healthy business and a healthy team. But then we'll also share the way out of those struggles by clearing the obstacles at their origins, helping you get there from here. Welcome to the Clearing Obstacles podcast, where we help you get there from here. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to a couple of dear friends, longtime friends, as well as some incredibly lovely humans. If you ever get a chance to meet them, or you're on the Big Island of Hawaii, look them up. It is Gretchen and Bobby Harttown. And I'm going to let them do a little bit of an introduction about themselves, and we'll jump right in. Guys, wonderful to see you, and great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. And welcome to Harttown.
Welcome to Harttown.
Thank you. I feel the love already. Let's just start by just tell us a little bit about what you do, what your business is, the name of it. Just give us a brief description of what we'd be looking for here.
Who should we ask?
Oh, you should, because I just got stuck in Harttown. Actually, no, because I wonder if anybody's watching and thinking Harttown is a little glitchy, slitchy, like kind of weird and schmoozy. So it's really not heart like a heart, even though it is. Gretchen was Gretchen Hartrick with a previous marriage, and I was Bobby Townsend, was my given name. And when we came together, we mashed up our name, the H-A-R-T of Hartrick and the T-O-W-N of Townsend, and that's where Harttown comes from.
Beautiful. So one of the many things I love about you guys. You are just singular in the way that you approach frickin' everything. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about the business.
Yeah, so we are realtors here on the Big Island of Hawaii. We specialize in the whole island. We live specifically in Waikoloa Resort. So that has become a fun and interesting specialty. But so many people start out their journey of considering the Big Island and don't know where they want to live. So one of the things that we do right from the beginning is help them in discovering there are like 11 of the 13 climate zones here on the island.
Right.
In the world.
There's so much here.
Yeah, every district of the 9 districts are distinctly different. And, there are lava zones and there's jungle and there's almost desert. So we really help people determine what area might be best even before we start looking specifically at homes.
Great. Oh, it sounds like an interesting distinction or differentiator between you and other agencies. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a number of agencies that really focus on luxury. We have a luxury aspect, and we work with homes up to $10-20 million, and on the water and in gated communities. And we also work to support families who are looking to find their blessed place here as the island economy shifts, and as the economy overall shifts and changes, and people find it a need to move to one place or another, whether it's family or business reasons. So we really love being all aspects.
Yeah. Now it's relatively new, your agency, right? How long have you guys been there doing what you're doing?
Well, we moved to the island 4 years ago. Actually, this month, 4 years ago.
Hey, congrats.
So yeah, and I started out in real estate as soon as we moved here, and a career shift, as you know, from a family-owned business, operating a family-owned business in Oregon. And Bobby was still working remote, and so he continued to do that until a year ago this month, when I had built up the business enough that he was able to join, and we could have it as our sole income.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we came to the island with really the idea we were attracted here by a long-term realtor, actually a third-generation realtor here. Her mother, father, and her grandmother were all combination of either commercial realtors in Florida or big realtors in LA, and her mother had been here for a long time. And so she attracted us to the island and said, I think it would be a really good fit. And so the first thing we did is, while Gretchen was getting her Hawaii real estate license, is we started a property care business for homeowners living on the island. This is a time for you to step in seamlessly and say the name of that
Harttown
business.
Property Care.
Thank you. Harttown Property Care. And it was for again, remote owners who didn't see their properties regularly. So we got to know the island we found a number of clients, and we cared for their properties and did regular inspections and reporting, and engaged in a similar to real estate aspect.
Yeah.
While was building up her capacity and her licensing to do real estate here.
What a great foray into that as a business. It kind of, like you said, it introduces you to the region and contacts and some of the different dynamics that property and real estate owners already have.
Right.
Yeah, I had a landscape restoration and tree business, both cultivating growth of trees and vegetation, as well as redoing properties in a real kind of an environmentally conscious way. And so it was interesting to come here, and that was a great way with that background to observe what's happening on the landscape on properties, how to manage water systems, what things homeowners need to be aware of, what are kind of particular issues that can arise for homeowners on the island, because they have a very, very distinct environment here.
Yeah.
And things people who are mainland folks who want to come over here and buy property and don't really get there's a lot to it. And so we had a really kind of a deep dive into caring for property on this island.
What I know about the two of you is you're incredibly diverse and very rich backgrounds. It's got to, look, I'll be on the lookout for a book if you ever decide to write one, because I'm sure it's going to be enthralling. And I say that sincerely, but you both come from very diverse backgrounds, and it sounds like it really contributes to your industry knowledge, like the specialty of what you're doing there.
It does. We both have, we were just talking earlier today about, it's a tough number to say, but we both have about 60 years of business experience combined.
Nice.
And from anywhere to, from retail to this property management to sales and marketing, and now, adding real estate and to that portfolio. Bobby has a lot of logistics and
compliance, working as Dan is working at an international alcohol company, importing and managing for the compliance of, selling to high-end,
highly regulated stuff.
Alcohol. So and Gretchen was really engaged in a lot of the negotiations. Her family business was a 27-year, business for business-to-business call center. So a lot of sales, a lot of, 100+ employees, a lot of things to manage in terms of all of that. So we both really have a keen sense for whether it's negotiating, contracts, attention to detail, having foresight in circumstances that arise, the need for clear and consistent communication. When you're buying a property from across the ocean, there's a lot of things that can get into the way.
Communication is paramount.
And one of the other beautiful things about, communicating with clients, because there are times in real estate that you're standing in the middle of relational issues where maybe partners who are looking at homes disagree on certain aspects, or you have, there are times where we represent the buyer and the seller, and we've got to figure out ways to get everyone to come together. And so training in communication and negotiations, nonviolent communication, conflict resolution, which we've both done a lot of work in, really actually aids us in our client relations and in the negotiation pieces as well. Keeping everything nice and calm, keeping it from getting personal. This is a negotiation, and
managing perspectives. Like what's the end result? Being clear, helping people be identifying what's the finals, where are we trying to get to, and what are the things that come up? Very much like the work you do, in terms of overcoming obstacles.
Yeah.
What do you see as where you think we're going? And so we make sure we identify the clear end goal in mind. And how we get there is as important to where and when we get there for us. Right. I mean, it's really important to be a certain manner of engagement and truth telling in a compassionate and yet sometimes compartmentalized and clear manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really dig on that.
I know it so aligns with what, I just see this as a great fit for you guys. Okay, so we painted a great picture of who you are and how you fit into your business. Let's as candidly as you can describe the state of the business today. I mean, we're not in the easiest market right now, at least I'm not sure specifically with Hawaii, but in general, real estate, I mean, we've seen, 4+ points of interest rate bump in the past, 2-3 years. I mean, we're seeing obviously challenging situations. So how is the business right now? What's the current status and health?
So it's growing and building. And we are, we really have kind of we have more than two different facets, but the main two on that topic are, we have the work that we're doing with our clients. And then we have the behind the scenes, the building of how do we address those issues that you're talking about? How do we just keep really engaged and knowledgeable about specifically the Hawaii market, but sometimes other states too. We have clients who are trying to sell homes in other markets.
And folks who have investment properties in different states who are buying or selling their investment properties in those states in order to buy or sell their properties for investment reasons here. And so again, it kind of allows for us to navigate a great deal of things that capture our interest. But I think, it's really important to identify that Gretchen came in her first year. Was it your first year? Second year into this brokerage, because she came in and started with a friend's brokerage, and it was an enormous opportunity, and found that it was just a better fit to have more back end, a larger international kind of company with more training and back end opportunities than the small little brokerage she was working with originally. She stepped into that brokerage, and in her first year and a half was $4+ million in sales. And so she was an award winner at that for Better Homes and Gardens. It's referred to as in gold level. They've got 5 or 6 different levels, and emerald, platinum, gold, silver, and Gretchen came in as an immediate player her very first year. And last year, again, an award winner, off a little bit, I think, in sales, just between 3 and 4 million.
Well, the difference between the market of 2021 and the market of 2022.
Sure. Yeah. But just to identify that the business is growing, and we want to grow it. And yet Gretchen really hit the ground with her feet running. And we'll talk a little bit about how we market and as we get into some of the obstacles, because that's a place where we really want to work. But her ability to reach out and engage people through whether it's social media or through what we do is just meeting people at the pool or going out to the beach or when we're shopping. We just say, we just love meeting people and finding out how we can connect and make a difference. And it's really been interesting to see the wide range of where our business has come from.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that you just jumped right in with both feet and had that kind of success right from the beginning, Gretchen. What do you see as far as your vision? Where do you want to take this thing?
One of the things that we've been talking about as far as our marketing is to be really impactful in the community. And that's how we want to market, like not necessarily, marketing and door knocking and calling, et cetera, but to make an impact in the community and have that be our marketing. And we both love planning events. We love bringing people together. We love bringing, networking. And those can all be really viable forms of marketing. And so our vision is to have this real estate business continue to grow while we're continuing to absolutely love how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
And to have it be enough to support the lifestyle of, it's expensive to live in Hawaii, but we also love to travel,
Mm-hmm.
and we love adventure, and we love to eat. And so we want to support all of that.
Yeah.
And we love to have the opportunity to tithe and to give back. Mm-hmm. And so to have the business be profitable enough to where all along the way, we're able to support the things that we identify. I mean, this is a new place for us.
Yeah.
We traveled to Hawaii. Gretchen's daughter Taylor played volleyball here at University of Hawaii in Hilo many years ago, and so we've had some touch-ins. But in terms of like developing some roots and understanding where we can give back to this beautiful place, because it's literally a paradise.
Yeah, yeah.
And for us to be able to be here, to get here and kind of scramble a bit to make it work and to find clients and do things, we've done that. And I think one of the things for us now, as Gretchen mentioned, trying to find a way to engage and connect in the community while living in what we live in the resort area that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And so find the places where we can authentically and genuinely inquire and find out where can we make a difference in a place that has such diversity. Hawaii has the greatest diversity of any state in the union. How do we find the channel to focus on and to do that regularly and consistently, and then be able to step back and review, okay, we've been doing these things regularly and consistently. One, are they in alignment with who we are? Yeah. And two, are we getting the results that we want to get?
There you go. Let's narrow in on that focus a little bit. What I know about you guys, it doesn't surprise me at all, is it's very values forward. It's the process and the purpose behind all of it. That, again, not surprising at all, knowing the two of you as I do. Let's hone in a little bit on the results that you're looking for. Is there any particular revenue target?
Commission income goal. We set early in the year at 200,000.
Okay, combined for the agency. Okay, how close are you on target for that? We're the time of this recording, we're almost halfway through the year.
Yeah,
we were super on target in our first quarter.
Okay,
and then we had like 3 deals just for bizarre reasons fall out of escrow.
That's real estate, baby, right?
Oh, so
exactly.
Yeah.
It's why we set the target high.
Yeah,
honestly. Gretchen's going from commission number and I was going on gross sales. Mm-hmm. And so it identifies that there's a place for the two of us to get aligned on how are we managing our analytics and what are the targets and the key performance indicators that we're looking to identify and to get aligned on those. Mm-hmm. That's a good start.
It is. Do you have anybody else working for you?
We have a transaction coordinator she's also a contractor.
Okay.
And so she just comes into play once we have a deal in escrow. She comes in and she handles all the deadlines, make sure, all the documents are signed and in order. We review all the documents. We still create the contracts.
Right. So kind of an administrative role.
And the terms. Exactly. So she's our administrative support.
And that's a fee for service.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Do you have any expectations or vision of having other agents working for you or other employees?
We're really not at this point, haven't been particularly team oriented. Uh-huh. There's a lot of that movement in the industry. Mm-hmm. And we're focusing on getting ourselves squared away.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I've managed up to 120 employees.
Yeah.
Not particularly interested in that because that actually then becomes the job.
Sure.
Right. So now, and I don't see it unless you build up quite large or you have incredibly successful agents within your brokerage. It's not a passive income.
Right.
And it pulls away from your ability to do the work that you need to do. I mean, we were just talking with a broker, no names mentioned, who has a large brokerage. And that person said that they still have to make their own money, that the brokerage really just supports the brokerage.
Right.
And the cost of doing business. And there's not a huge amount of profit from that. So we really love work-life balance. Yeah. I am not a work.
Yeah, we're in early autumn. I mean, I'll speak to, I'm in early autumn of my life cycle. and I don't have that same kind of juice, in terms of like to grow and grow and grow. One of the reasons we're here, and one of the things that we work with our clients, what we tend to align with, is that people are coming here for lifestyle reasons. Yeah. They're here for what they love about what's here, and we want to live that certain lifestyle.
Yeah,
and we're not interested in working 70 hours, 90 hours a week.
Yeah,
I've done.
Right.
There's a give and a take with both. And frankly, for the purposes of a conversation like this on the Clearing Obstacles podcast, there is no prerequisite. You have to be a certain, revenue number or a certain number of employees. Look, running a business is running a business. They all have all of their own, unique dynamics to them. And so just say that up front. You guys fit the profile perfectly because it's still going concern. All of the same, aside from team management per se, all of the same dynamics apply. And so, so just to get that out of the way, that there's no prerequisite to like what actually fits this format, because everything else is pretty much hand in glove to a conversation like this on the podcast. So tell us, if you would, as you see it, what do you think are the biggest obstacles to you guys getting, let's just say, a 3-year vision? Do you have a 3-year vision? So you've got this net profit target for this year of about $200K. What's a 3-year vision? I mean, are you fine and just holding steady with that? Do you want to build that? Obviously, you wouldn't complain if you had a $500,000 year next year or this year, but do you have like a 3 or a 5, 10-year target, anything like that? A little further down the line?
We've discussed it loosely, mm-hmm. and we get the value of that. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the obstacles for us is getting clarity on creating a clear plan, sure. and then reviewing periodically. Are we on target for that plan? And so we really don't. We've been pretty much a year by year focus, okay. and we're aware that that's something that we're very much interested and committed to developing. Yeah. Clear, sharper picture of where we want to be and how to get there mm-hmm. in 5 years, mm-hmm. 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What do you think is let's take this year by year. Let's say we were just to extend this out as a 3-year, you want to hit that net profit target, say just for the next 3 years, just to sustain it, especially in a market that's as volatile as real estate. What do you think stands in the way? What are the predominant obstacles as far as you see it?
Focus. For me, focus.
Focus.
There's so many things in having your own real estate business. There's so many things to do. Uh-huh. And there are so many things that to determine, are we going to hire out for that? Are we going to buy software for that? Are we going to get an app for that? How are we going to manage all of these details? Mm-hmm. And long-term forecasting tends to just get put on the back burner because all of the front burner items mm-hmm. require our full attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why calls or emails, right? So, I mean, somebody who's the next deal. Can show up and it can be really easy to focus on that in terms of just generating revenue in the immediate term, as opposed to how can I do that effectively? How can I not always be responding to the immediate need and paying attention to like how do we create the larger kind of mission?
Yeah. I'm going to propose this, that throughout the conversation, try and sort of frame the things that we talk about as balancing the short, mid, and long-term value of what we're talking about. That is to say, if there are things that you're putting in place today to manage almost the moment-to-moment stuff that you're contending with, the focus that may draw your focus or distract you from certain objectives, how in the process of putting those things in place can you leverage those for long-term strategy as well? So just trying to draw that frame briefly to be thinking about that, and any listeners, listen for the ways as well for you that you can leverage the things that you're doing currently and in a way systematize them and make sure that they're going to be applicable to your business 6 months from now, maybe even 6 years from now. So you're not reinventing the wheel every single month, just putting out another fire because you've established some continuity to the systems that you have embraced and actively implement in your business, right? So as we're talking about some of those, just be thinking about them in short, mid, and long-term value as well. So that's a distraction that's an obstacle for you, Gretchen. It's the focus. It's making sure that you are attending to the things that need your attention the most, right? Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Is that different for you, Bobby?
So I know I align with that obstacle because there's a lot of different places where I can go in terms of what I think are the issue or where we should be, and the inability to really rail in and focus on one and try it. Like, I'm so much in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, oh, well, we could do that. This looks like it could be really great, and that looks like it could be really great, and and this would work for our 3-year plan or 5-year plan. So yeah,
and then somebody calls, and
yeah, I think a great place to start is focus and like what is like how to cultivate a plan, and we've worked with we've had some support with other, whether it's webinars or coaches, and we come away with a variety of things to do, and then all of a sudden we'll get swept away into the immediacy, and then 2 weeks later, oh, what happened to that program that we were consistently recording? How many outbound calls we made, or how many emails did we send out to prospects, or how many business owners did we engage in? Because what we wanted to do was to get connected with the community, and so we were going to do video interviews with a number of weekly businesses, and oh, we've got open houses on the other side of the island, so we're go over there, and then 2 weeks later, oh, we didn't set up an appointment for that interview. And so like that in a nutshell is like really kind of how to hone in that, where to get some accountability, or how can we be our own support accountability within our relationship. And for anyone who's working with their life partner, know that I can have an insight as to something that I see that maybe Gretchen is doing or that we're doing together, that all of a sudden, oh, that's out of alignment with what we said previously that we want to be doing. Right. But if I say that in a manner like that's receptive, or that's compassionate, or that's not charged, then
suddenly we're in conflict resolution mode.
then the business goes sideways, gets off track again. So it's like how to establish, a really kind of a compartmentalized, balanced, rigorous accountability program.
Yeah. I'll say up front, find a group or a coach or somebody that can hold your feet to the fire and pin you down on your commitments and then support you in achieving those commitments. It usually comes from an external source, right? That's one of the challenges of a family dynamic, or having a business where there's a family dynamic, is we're juggling those relationships, and they're not always the easiest to compartmentalize, right? It's hard to hold accountable your life partner in such a way that, again, say a third-party consultant or business coach, or even a group, right? If there was an association that you could align with that would say, all right, what was your target over these last 2 weeks, and how close did you get to hitting them, and why or why not, right? So it's harder to do that in a family dynamic, especially in a partnership dynamic like you guys have. Okay, so I'm going to start by saying, obviously, some written goals and written targets in order to have an established true north on your compass for where you're going. One of the best resources available for that, I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, is a book called Essentialism by a guy named Greg McEwen. I read this book, my God, I think 7 years ago, and I liked it and it was good, but I kind of considered maybe an extension of David Allen's Getting Things Done, and just better for productivity. And I clearly didn't hear it the way I needed to, and for my experience of it, I'm now on my third reading of it, and it's not hyperbolic to say it's been life-changing to be able to narrow my focus down to the absolute essentials of what's most important. And that kind of relentless and rigorous focus on those priorities requires a certain discipline that is uncomfortable for anybody, especially anybody who's ambitious, because it requires that you say no to certain things. To a lot of things, right?
Yeah, to most everything that's not that.
That's not on alignment with that. That's not going to get you there. Even if it's a great new idea, doesn't matter. That's not your focus right now. And great, put a pin in it. We will look at this again in Q3 or Q4, but for the time being, we're now in Q2, and this is the course. This is the trajectory we've set. What I know about you guys, one of your incredible strengths is you're both so agile. You can pivot like nobody I've ever known. and your ability to be flexible and modify strategy based on the conditions that are going to pop up in front of you, the challenges that are going to pop up in front of you. That agility as a strength, you've heard me say it before. If you're listening to any other episode of this podcast, any strength that's overused becomes a weakness, right? And so that agility can very quickly devolve into just an albatross of liability around your neck. And so finding a way to put a
property management.
Right?
Let's screw it.
Exactly, right?
Let's go property management. Let's do that. Let's try that.
How about let's do some interior design.
Okay.
Maybe some interior design, right? And all of those are intriguing and compelling and promising prospects. They're great potential opportunities, but they're not the one that you committed to focusing on for the time being.
But it's so interesting because what it brings to mind for me is that it identifies the willingness to pivot or to be distracted, if you will, from this essential thing that even if we've kind of quietly learned what is our essential without having the rigor and the accountability to it, the fear of being bored. It's like, oh, wait, so I do the same thing over and over again to be successful?
Yeah.
Fuck that. But I get like the I feel into the joy of being on the other side of a discipline and having what we want, like being successful and identifying, oh, that's what we're going after. And then actually see ourselves have that be the success versus the success of, oh, we withstood that storm or we somehow survived that challenge. How about we executed on what we identified and celebrate that? It's an interesting, it's I appreciate that.
It is. And it's a hard pivot to make, especially for ambitious people, especially for creatives, especially for people who have any kind of entrepreneurial tendencies, that itch. It's, I describe that entrepreneurial tendency as you see something and it seems a bit askew and you're like, somebody should do something about, I should do something about that. And off you go, right? That's kind of that entrepreneurial tendency. And I mean, you guys are just chock full of it. And again, a fantastic attribute to have, a great strength to have until it's not. And so, right, just finding a way to put a leash on that, and maybe you can hold each other accountable on that. And the best place to start, I want to emphasize this, is having it in writing. Verbal agreements are terrific and they're a part of the solution, but having a clear and defined.
Not in real estate. It's not in writing. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Adopting that as a premise for your own business strategy might be useful, but getting that stuff down in writing and elaborating on it, by the way, as to why that's important and why that's the course of action that you've chosen to take. Again, you guys being so process conscious, you want it to be a joyful experience. You want it to be values forward. And if you're always distracted by going from one thing to the next, you'll never get enough traction to be able to share the gifts of this profoundly successful real estate agency that and all of these opportunities, because right, you're not just going to shortchange yourselves, you're going to shortchange those who are the benefactors of your generosity. Right. And so it's so easy to get distracted, especially for certain personality types. I'm raising my hand here as well, by the way. That's why that book, again, just shout out to that author. And it's a painful, excruciating process because you have to sacrifice your most precious ideas. Some of these things that, again, they're great ideas. What we know with folks like us, there's no shortage of great ideas. That's not the problem. It's the ability to focus and drill down into those things and then commit to a certain course of action. That doesn't mean like no matter what, you're not going to pivot. It just means that the core target that you are seeking is established and committed to. And again, there's some kind of mechanism to hold one another accountable to that. So if Bobby says, I'm going to head off to the other side of the island to look at X, Y, or Z, and that doesn't have anything to do with the trajectory that you committed to, Gretchen, to be able and comfortable to say, darling, is this aligned with what our primary objective is here?
No, it's interesting, Dan, because it reflects on so one of the focuses that we've identified is that, we live on the northwest part of the island where there's, about 9-10 resort complexes that are all within 15 minutes of us.
Uh-huh.
We've identified that, hey, now we've gotten some business rolling and we're working and living, and like, let's focus on where we live, and then, but by virtue of what we've had to do to get here to be operating, we then get either referrals or business comes in for other parts of the island, mm-hmm. which we love because we get to go see other parts of the island. We'll spend the night. We'll do some things over there, and we can work remotely. But it doesn't. That scenario doesn't allow for us to stay on that goal of, our goal is, just for the goal's sake's purpose, mm-hmm. Is to focus on where we live in this resort area complex for a number of reasons. And so the challenge of saying, that's business coming in. Why wouldn't we go take care of that client or that potential client, even though it doesn't necessarily align with the goal that we've stated? Does that make sense?
It does. It
partially aligns because it would contribute, mm-hmm. right, to our revenue,
mm-hmm. right?
But it takes us outside of the smaller scope.
So we do that, and we can quite easily spend 2 to 3 days on that particular scenario, and then all of that is time not spent on the stated goal of, what are we doing to focus on, here in this particular area? So I can see that there's a way to identify how can we do both, and how can we make sure that whatever we're doing, if there's a trade-off, by virtue of doing this thing mm-hmm. on another part of the island, what am I going to do as an exchange, if you will, or some kind of manner to make sure we're not just throwing out the baby with the bathwater, but also saying, okay, good, I'm making a mindful, we're going to do this one thing, and then we're going to do this in order to satisfy or to nurture this goal that we've stated.
Yeah, I'm going to float this out there, and it might get traction, it might not, but I don't know how much of what you guys do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis are the things that are not essential that you are the one doing them. Administrative stuff, for example. Again, what I know about you is how your ability to cultivate relationships is your magic wand. That's part of your secret sauce. You're just exceptional at cultivating relationships, and that's exclusive to you. That's a talent that only you can bring to bear in the way that you are so capable of. And so if it's required that you're the one doing that, then it probably makes sense for you to engage. Is there any margin in there for you to outsource to either a part-time executive assistant, an administrator, something on like a freelancer Upwork kind of platform, having somebody do some of the, even if it's 5 hours a week, that 5 hours a week might allow you some of that margin to go, you know what? I'm gonna exchange that 5 hours a week of knucklehead admin shit for maybe chasing some of those big potential opportunities that might not be perfectly aligned with what the strategy was, but it's valuable enough that I'm willing to pay somebody to do some of the tasks that aren't very specific to my role.
Yes. And that's exactly why we decided to go with the transaction coordinator.
Great. Yeah.
A lot of people, early in their careers would say, no, that's an additional, that's kind of a bonus of once you've hit it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's critical for any realtor to go in their first couple of years and their first multiple contracts and do the work, because you have to know how to do the work.
For sure.
But once we had that, we realized how much time in every deal we could save, because we're not the ones
sending emails back and forth, confirming receipts, confirming
filing them in the right place.
Got the signature. Oh, the date's not right on this. You need to correct that. Like all of those kinds of things, which we need to pay attention to.
Right.
But we're not managing those the steady stream of emails and phone calls back and forth to book the appointment with the inspector.
Right.
Blah, blah.
Right.
Interesting though. When you say what you're saying, will come up. I'm sorry. Did you have more to say about that? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the other things, title companies are super helpful in that when we need e-blasts and specific types of marketing, the title companies have sales managers who have outreach managers, and you just basically send them the information. They put it together. It's free.
Great.
It's like part of their marketing.
Mm-hmm. And
so we do utilize that.
Yeah. And I think that there's room for us to do more of that,
mm-hmm.
Because that really is, when we talked in some of our questionnaire with you earlier, the clear marketing plan,
mm-hmm.
I can get that out of this essentialism. There will be an opportunity to identify who essentially are we and what essentially are we trying to bring.
Right.
And that will support our developing of our marketing plan. Because right now, we do a fair bit of marketing, but it's a little bit by the hip. And we get a lot of things going, and the place of not really being able to identify what are we getting from all that. We know that we're getting some things, but how to track it and to keep putting our energy into where we're getting the most results.
Yeah.
And so in line with kind of what you're saying, what came up earlier for me was really the use of AI in writing, because part of the place where we can get stuck is we can both be perfectionists in speaking about how we're trying to speak about ourselves or speak about the value that we bring and why we do it, or what property it is that we're wanting to market and sell for someone. And so we can get stuck in just wordsmithing and just using it. We've started to dabble in AI for that, and it's phenomenal.
It is. It's a tremendous tool. It requires a specific amount of thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
No, you got to drive it. It's a garbage in, garbage out.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to clearly identify what we're looking for and then hone it periodically. But as you do it more and more, I just think that
there's a big learning curve on it. Like you've really got to learn how to do
There
that.
is, but it's an amazing tool if we're leveraging the right way and still bringing our own voice to it and our own brand to it. I don't want to go down the AI rabbit hole. We could go crazy on that thing.
The other place that a bookkeeper, someone who's tracking our finances, is the other place that we know that it would be really beneficial and free us up of not just time, but of noise.
Yep.
Right. Like there's just always, for me personally, there's always kind of that financial piece.
Yeah.
And how we're tracking our finances and how we're tracking our goals and our revenues and the money that's going out to all of these
optimizing our text?
Right. Sometimes those distractions are energetic distractions as much as the time itself.
Completely energetic.
I need to emphasize to the scalability of shaving that kind of time off. Just I love making this analogy. Okay, 5 hours a week. If you could scrape off 5 hours a week of bookkeeping or managing finance or email responding, whatever, 5 hours a week, each of you take 5 hours a week off. That's 10 hours a week between the two of you, 50-ish work weeks a year. That's 500 hours a year that you could put towards other things that are distinctly more suited to your skills, your roles, your talents. Almost 2 months of productivity that you would free up by bringing somebody else in. People always look at that as an expense. I always say, perhaps, but look at it first as an investment. That stuff scales so fast. You go, it's just 5 hours a week. I can pull that out of the air. Yeah, but what if you didn't have to? So I don't want to lean too much on that and advocate for it. You guys will figure out if that actually is right for you and if it fits in your budget and there's an appropriate amount of work that you could find for somebody with those talents. And frankly, it would probably, if they're an expert at it, it'd take them 2 hours anyway. What's taking you 5, because that's their skill set, right? So let's assume, let's fast forward and assume you guys have done your homework on that. You found some places where you can leverage other types of labor or contractors or some other kinds of skill sets that maybe are not your areas of strength, so that you can now leverage your strengths. Okay. One thing you identified earlier is this marketing piece. And I want to lean into that because I feel like that's the bulk of the juice we're going to squeeze from the fruit today, is in the marketing strategy. Tell us a little bit about what you're already doing and where it's working and where it's not.
So we do a lot of social media marketing. I do some Facebook marketing that's not paid ads and all of that, but more. We have a Go Big Island site, Facebook Go Big Island, and we push out data and some of it's fun information, some of it's facts about moving to the island, about events that are happening on the island, about real estate. I'll go live at open houses. I'll highlight some certain houses that I think are really cool, and certainly highlighting anything that we've listed or anything that we've sold.
Yeah.
But also, going into groups that are, because we live in such a desirable place, it's really easy to find on Facebook places where people want to move here and they want to live here and they're asking questions about it.
Yeah.
So then we go, I surf around. It actually, results in me spending probably more time on social media than I would like. And it's in the comments section, which is like the absolute purgatory of social media, right? Like it's where you go to get, it's where I go to get enraged.
Right.
It's suddenly,
and lost and all.
You don't know how much time I'll write out a whole comment and then delete it before I ever post it because I just had to say all of that.
Hey, it's cathartic.
But that's right. But anyway, so we've gained several clients, and some of them have ended up being really good friends because we began communicating on Facebook about real estate and about moving to Hawaii.
How to bring your pet here? What are the areas of the island?
Right.
Is there really no rabies here? Like, what is the volcano going to erupt? Like, just all the and it's interesting because it's unique. It's a powerful place, and so
right.
Yeah. So Gretchen, actually, she's done an incredible job of just naturally, like it would be such an arduous thing for me to do that. Like and then I'd be distracted. All of a sudden, in no time, I'd be checking out the lavender site in Austria because they had pretty colors and
and then bye, Gretchen. Now she's all gone. I'll see her tomorrow.
The lavender site in Austria. I'm searching right now. Is there one?
I know.
Anyway.
To all of our listeners, get back to the podcast. Stop searching lavender in Austria. Come back.
Lavender in Austria. Come back to Hawaii.
And another thing that we've done is, from a marketing perspective, we've created a newsletter that we put out about every 3 to 5 weeks. And it's a casual newsletter, but it has some real estate information, basics, but it really is more. It starts from a place of lifestyle because we love being here and we want to project and promote what is this lifestyle.
I want to talk briefly about a concept that, given both of your dossiers, I know you're both acutely familiar with, but for our listeners, they might not be as familiar with it. I'm going to share the screen with you guys. For our listeners, it's the content that we're going to share in the show notes here. If you go to clearingobstacles.com, you're going to see this graphic. And it basically represents what's known as the buyer's journey. Other circles known as the customer's journey. There's nothing particularly proprietary about this. It's just kind of universal marketing and sales strategy benchmarks. The buyer's journey, again, also known as a customer's journey, because it just seems very applicable to this conversation. So go to clearingobstacles.com, find this graphic, and you'll be able to kind of track what we're going over here. It basically describes, for those who want to just keep listening here, it's describing the emotional path that a person takes in any purchasing decision, right? Whether we're aware of it or not, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, we are ticking off these milestones that we will be emotionally crossing. Again, sometimes they're conscious, sometimes they're not. But we have to tick these boxes in order to feel comfortable enough to make a purchase commitment. Now, that might be for a sub sandwich, it might be for a home, it might be for a car, it might be for coaching or consulting services. We're crossing this journey, if you will, of emotional milestones. And I'll walk you through briefly what it is. Again, I know you guys are already familiar with it, but I have an intuition about something, and I want to run it by you here in a second. But here are the steps. And again, this is kind of a plain vanilla version of it. And it's usually best customized to your business and your brand. But here's the gist of it. It always starts with awareness. Your prospects, your potential customers have to even know that you exist. This is kind of the billboard concept, right? It's a business card. This is me. This is what I do. And I want to make you aware of it. And as obvious as that sounds, that's the point of a business card and a billboard. It's not telling you much more than, hey, we exist. And that's the first step. So as obvious as it seems, we have to make sure that people are aware of it. This is when people buy up ad space or hand out business cards. So there has to be an awareness. The second milestone that a potential buyer has to hit is they have to trust you. You have to build rapport. Just because you have Go Big Island Life as a business, and this is this thing that you do, they have to trust that you know what you're doing, right? You're competent in the trade that they might possibly want to engage with you in. You have you're not a shyster. You're not somebody who's going to take them for their money. You're going to deliver on what you promise. And so you have to nurture this trust and the rapport with your prospective customers or clients. That's the second one, trust and rapport. The third one tends to be relevance. So, okay, I know that you exist. I think you're trustworthy, but do I want to buy property in Hawaii? Or maybe I just want to buy a timeshare instead. Are the services that you're offering relevant to their reality? That's the third milestone or benchmark that you have to cross as a prospective buyer in a situation like this. And then the fourth one tends to be, do they fit? Is there a match here? So yes, I know that you exist. Yes, I trust you. Yes, I want to buy property on Hawaii. But are you my kind of people? Are you the kind? I mean, there's plenty of brokerages. There's plenty of realtors, I'm sure, there. And it's probably even a bit of a crowded industry. And so the potential buyer is trying to determine, do I want to do business with you? Or all of these other things I can check off of the milestones, but is there a fit and a match? Will we be simpatico in our business dealing together? And so we're emotionally, again, I don't care what you're buying. If it's a latte, you need to be aware of the coffee stand. You have to trust that you're going to get a good coffee. You have to realize, do I want coffee or mate or tea, or maybe I should just make something here? So there's the relevance. And then it is a fit and a match. Do I want to visit, the Starbucks or the small local chain that's here, or the small local kind of boutique coffee place that's here? That's a fit determination match. It works with every purchase decision that's being made. And so, of course, then at that point, then it's the conversion. We're kind of going from marketing into the closing of the sale. It's the decision process where they're pulling out their wallet, they're signing up, they're signing on the dotted line to say, yep, let's do business together, right? And then that's the decision. Now that's the buyer's journey. There's that additional element, if we were going to expound upon this, of the customer's journey, where now are you assuring that you're delivering on that promise and actually fulfilling on what they gave you their hard-earned money for? And that's a really important element to this conversation. We might include it in today's chat and we might not, but that delivery on the promise really matters, because that's where the reconversions and the referrals come in. And the reconversions and referrals basically check off every single one of the milestones in a buyer's journey. Because if you guys tell me, oh my gosh, you got to check out this new coffee joint, you've made me aware. I trust you, so I trust them. I realize it's relevant because you know me, it'd be a good fit and a match. That right there, that referral automatically ticks off every one of those boxes. So that's why they're really, really powerful in the overall customer journey, not necessarily the buyer's journey. Okay, so that's again, I know I'm telling you guys nothing that is new information to you, but just to bring our listeners up to speed, because here's the tickle that's in my tummy about this one. Are you guys clear in everything that you're doing in your marketing, what milestone you are addressing with that particular engagement? So if you're going to a local mixer, what are you doing? Are you there to build trust and rapport? Are you there to discuss the fit and the match? If you're engaging in social media and you're posting in the comments, what are you doing it for? Is it trust, rapport, relevance, fit, match? Are you trying to help somebody make a decision? Are they already really close to decision making and you're trying to get them over the edge? Are you guys always clear in what that particular outcome is relative to the buyer's journey in all of your current marketing efforts? Do you have some clear definition in that way?
No.
I hadn't thought about it. I think awareness always, from a social media standpoint, my goal is always to drive awareness first. Mm-hmm. I'm pushing out content to try to bring in and putting that in groups and on other pages to make our name known, to know, so that Go Big Island on Facebook and Go Big Island Life on Instagram are something that if you're searching Hawaii, or if you follow several Hawaii pages, that we're included in that. Right. And also have a group, Destination Big Island, that's literally about moving to the island. Mm-hmm. So that is all about awareness.
Cool.
I would say the Facebook page, Go Big Island, is probably more the awareness. Mm-hmm. The trust, rapport, and relevance probably comes more into play in the group. Someone has actually joined that group because it's about moving to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So now we're deep into the relevance.
Yep.
as well as the newsletter is really
Correct.
relevance.
And,
Right.
And I want to highlight something here. Every time you make a post about something that would reflect your approach, the values you place. I mean, even in your name, Go Big Island Life, you are emphasizing a different sort of lifestyle for somebody to adopt with their next property purchase decision. Right? That right there. If I were to go and survey 20 different realtors and their marketing collateral, it's going to look vastly different from what you guys are emphasizing. They may really emphasize business opportunities or fishing or golf, or they may really emphasize certain benefits that an investor would be able to reap. But you guys have a very particular niche that you're emphasizing. I would advocate that. I think you're ticking a lot of those boxes off in those posts that you're making, in the conversations and the comments that you're engaging in. Awareness is so far down the food chain in a buyer's journey that it almost happens by default. There's very little that is exclusively awareness, right? So
if we're engaging with them,
you're building trust and rapport. You're showing the relevance. You're kind of putting your brand forward, and they're determining, again, consciously or subconsciously, are these the guys I want to buy a house with? Right.
And any of the posts that we're posting that are not real estate centric, for instance, lifestyle, we're posting when we're out snorkeling, or we're posting a beautiful resort where we're having a dinner, or we're posting scenery. That's all relevance. The goal there is for people to look at that and go, I want that.
I want that. Yep. Okay. So if, let's say they get through steps 3 of 4 here, and again, this is a very nimble kind of approach here. Many different businesses and brands, sometimes there's like an education component in there, and that might sort of augment the relevance or the trust and rapport. But sometimes there are other little strategies or milestones that we can inject into a buyer's journey. But again, those are the 4 main components. Where do you think in that buyer's journey the vast majority of your prospects get stuck? Where do they get off the train?
Inventory.
Yeah. And I would say fit. So that would fall under fit and match.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Because many people have an idea of what they think it is to move here, and how they can go about it and what's possible. And we do a great deal of, it's a finesse conversation with people who have their idea of what it is to be here, because you get here and it's 2,500 miles away from where they were if they were in California. They come from Ohio or Texas or what have you, further. And not to mention the consciousness distance of whatever it is that's going on here. And there's a wide variety of circumstances here that people can move into. So trying to understand, we have to work so much to really get to know people. And it can be where they're like, well, I'm just looking to buy a house. It's like, well, yes, that's true. But you're looking to buy a home somewhere completely different from where you live. And you have an idea of it. We have to do some work to identify if what they want is possible,
right?
If it's reasonable and if it's accessible. And so that's a bit where we lose a fair. So when I say inventory, it's like, are you aware of what it is that you're shopping for?
Yeah, Bobby, you're going right into what I was kind of getting at, is education can be kind of a subset of any of these particular milestones, right? And so if that's where they're getting off the train, is once they learn what this is actually going to involve, they're like, oh shit, this is more than I'm biting off more than I can actually chew, or some variation of that. Yeah.
Right. I think there are also some that they come to us and then they bounce to others. And, it'd be interesting actually to track them. We have a lot of people who come to us and say, here's what I want. And we say, boy, that price point in that area, well, just only alert me if there's a good deal. Like, I want a good deal. I want to get in on a really good deal. And we're like, okay, this is not small town Arizona, where people are selling their house for next to nothing because they just want out. Yes. This is paradise. And everybody wants to come here. And good deals are are few and far between. And if you know someone, or if you have, massive reach on the island and you can get in right before somebody forecloses or something, there's can be occasionally a good deal. But for the most part, you're paying paradise prices.
Yep. So,
and you're competing heavily with all the other people who want good deals.
See, I see that kind of reality check conversation with a prospect as a huge trust rapport builder, because you're giving them the hard truth. I hope you're still interested, but yeah.
Right.
You're so right. And yet how to do so and not turn somebody off, right? How to do so in a this is the place where I mentioned finesse, and we're still very much cultivating how to go about that. When in the conversation to have that with somebody right up front, because part of it is when people are on the other side of the world and they're communicating with us through email or phone or text. How can we press in enough to say, I need some more information from you. And they're like, well, I just want to buy a house. And so, okay, so maybe you're not the best fit for us because you're not open to our style of how we go about this. And that's something that we're really working on. How do we establish that initial questionnaire or the second month conversation, the check-in and review what you say you're going for and what's happening here in the process?
Do you guys have a clear picture of exactly who your ideal customer is?
We were just talking about avatars yesterday.
That's the term, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't. It would be very. I mean, so you ask a question, and I identify that we don't have something clear and sharp in place, and then Gretchen is like, "Well, we've been doing that in a certain way," and she's right. But I just know that it's not set and established, and so, but we do have a pattern of folks who we've worked with that work well, that have worked well.
Right. That's I think that's the well that you need to go to identify where, like, those are the people that crossed that chasm of the buyer's journey and they've gone from start to finish. And that particular demographic and psychographic, right? Where the demographics are the things that you can identify from a census form, right? It's the age, race, gender, zip code. It's the demographics. Psychographics is what's going on in their head, what emotionally drives them, what emotionally repels them. And being clear on both of those, the demographics, of course, and the psychographic. Maybe demographics are, you guys particularly relate really, really well to Gen Xers, or you relate really, really well to any particular demographic. That would be the first criteria to be really clear on. And there you go. That's one of the first elements of your avatar or your ideal customer. And then starting to expound on that.
Because we connect with different demographics, which is interesting. I mean, when we're both aligned that we're going into this particular demographic, one of us will have a more inherent alignment with that demographic than the other. And the other, as you mentioned before, we both have a great deal of agility, can kind of find what we need to do. But it's really important. I think there's a great value in knowing where are we going and for what reason.
Right.
Which of our clients have executed the deal and the process in a relatively seamless way. Now, everybody has different circumstances, and we want to have the ability to work with people through a variety of difficult circumstances as well and challenges in the process. But can we look at and identify some specific characteristics of a client that's made the decision and made it happen versus those that have made the decision to want to be here versus haven't crossed
That's
the
not
bridge.
a sale. That's a waste of your time. That's what that is.
No, exactly right. But it could also be a matter of a client just not being ready right now. And so,
exactly. And so then we're just stuck in that trust rapport and that relevance for a little longer.
Until the inventory comes around or you can get them to cross the next milestone.
Until they're ready, or they realize they actually need to save up a little bit more for their down payment, or they realize that they've got to wait until their son graduates from high school.
Right.
Before they're just ready to actually leave. Sure. Or, there's all kinds of reasons, but they start looking and we've had them come around when, they've been looking for 2 years and we finally have them come around. And so I always get twitchy and contrary. I can be contrary. when when the conversation starts putting people in boxes or eliminating people because they don't fit certain criteria, or like, that's the place where I like to keep things, I guess, really, really broad and really open. And so far we've had ideal clients that have been young, single people. We've had ideal clients that have been families looking for a family home. And we've had ideal clients who come in and they go, we want to buy a condo. We've stayed in those condos before. Just shoot us a video and then, and let's negotiate the price.
Right.
Obviously, I mean, those are fantastic.
Right.
We love those, but there's not going to be as much of that rapport building, as much of that personality and that getting to know each other, because they kind of already know what they want and we're just facilitating.
Sure.
it.
I'd be curious if you were to survey the last, let's just say the last 20 deals that you were able to get through. If you were to survey all of them, what would be the most common comment that they would make? Oh my God, you got to go with Bobby and Gretchen because they what?
Interesting. We have several friends who actually tag us on social media, and they say things about why, and then going through our reviews, we hear that.
Are you talking trolls or advocates? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. We hear that they feel like they were treated like family.
Okay.
That we were incredibly informative, that we provide them with a lot of information in which they can make their decisions. Just some of the other things that you've heard.
I can see the value of reviewing what our clients have said about us to understand what they think we've done well.
That we're willing to spend an enormous amount of time with them, helping them make their decisions. We've heard. Which could be. And is
that in our best interest?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that in our best interest? I don't know. Where have we crossed the line from friendship to representing our clients?
Right.
And yeah, these are the things that are very hard. So Dan, you know us very well. To be relationally driven in a business, where is it that we identify that we're spending more time than is required for our business if we've already established the relationship?
Right. Right.
And that's a really challenging place to look at.
I'm going to encourage you to, I'm interrupting you only just to make this point. I'm going to encourage you to do that because there is a finite number of hours in the day.
Absolutely.
Right? And you have to be very clear on what's working and what's not. What is your brand identification in such a way? 3 things you just mentioned right at the top: treated like family. Go to Bobby and Gretchen. They treat you like family. It's you like family here. They're very informed and knowledgeable, and they're very invested in us as our client. That almost overlaps with the family piece. They're each one of those, you're really, the first one and the third, treat like family and very invested in us as clients. That's, again, very relational, one of your strengths for sure. Very informed and knowledgeable. That's an important element, again, of course. And so when you can isolate the parts of a marketing strategy that work the best for you, those are the stock picks for you. Those are the ones you need to put more of your resources toward. Again, if you're trying to build friends, great, go build as many friends as you want. But if you're going to be investing business time and business resources in hopes of closing the sales and making deals, you've got to be hard and a little more committed to the ideal client that is worthy of your business investment time.
Yeah.
Figure out what's working and what's not, and respond accordingly.
Right. And we have multiple friends who have been in the business for many years and they do exactly that. I mean, they turn down business, or, we have sometimes they even will refer business to us because it's like, I don't work that side of the island, or, they're looking for something specific and I don't specialize in that. And I feel like there's a certain amount of time, I would still consider us in the business building phase.
Absolutely.
And turning down a client that takes a lot of time when knowing when they finally do close, this could be a $15,000 commission, but so that can be a really tough decision for me, for turning someone away because that's not the specific work I want to do, or I feel like it took too many hours.
Right.
Those can be the things that I think can give realtors bad names. Like, oh, they just want the quick and the deals that are halfway done.
Oh, I agree.
That they don't want to have to do the hard work. And people have this conception of like, well, you're just facilitating the negotiation and you make 15 grand. That's easy money. Well, let's look at the 27 houses we showed you and the 3 clients before you who decided not to buy
it's
it all.
$4.20 an hour. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to mention an outstanding resource especially for people with your approach when it's about relationships and relationship building. It's a book by Mo Bunnell is his name. It's called The Snowball System: How to Win More Business and Turn Clients into Raving Fans. I don't get anything from any of these books or resources I ever talk about. I just find them to be really useful. Check out Mo Bunnell.
How can you leverage this? Let's discuss.
Mo Bunnell has he's prolific. You should check out his YouTube channel for resources on relational selling. And look, almost everybody has an issue with the term or the concept of selling, right? Because we've all had such miserable experiences in various contexts in our lives. And what I really dig about Mo Bunnell and his approach, and again, this abundance of resources that are there on YouTube and buy his book too to support the abundance of resources, is how to him, and I like to use this term as well, is it's matchmaking, right? They have a need and I have a specialty for delivering on needs just like that and cultivating that in such a way that, like you said, sometimes this is farming. This isn't hunting. You have a relationship that it's going to be 2-3 years before it bears any fruit. And that's the farming approach. Just make sure you're farming the right crops. Right. And you're cultivating those relationships. Again, if you want to make friends, go make all the friends you can afford in time. But when it comes to your business activities, being discriminating in the choices you're making for how you're spending that time, where you're spending those resources, time, money, and energy, is going to, I think, get you a lot better bang for your buck on those resources. And identifying what those are. If it's a relationship that you're building and you know that their reach of other contacts and other people that would make ideal clients, they have a really broad reach. Well, keep them at the top of your list, of course, as a business contact. And if they don't, and you still want to be friends with them, by all means, right? Continue whatever and help them and work them in the incredibly generous way that you guys are with your relationships. But bang for buck on marketing, I'll emphasize it one more time. Being really clear on what works and what doesn't. And unfortunately, this often requires some metrics, some data, some very specifics. And this might be, by the way, a great opportunity for outsourcing some of this stuff to cull through your data, to identify the clients that you have, what their demographics, maybe personality types are, what means do they have available to them, where are they coming from, any of those different criteria that would help you to be more precise in where you should be spending those finite resources. It's leverage. It's going to get you a lot more bang for your buck. What are you guys' thoughts about that? I'll get off my soapbox on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think, obviously there's one commonality for every client that we have, and that is they're interested in island life.
Yeah. A
lifestyle. They're interested in the same things that drew us here. So we already were starting, instead of like, if we were selling, let's say in Oregon and we were doing real estate in Oregon, there would be so many different demographics and many of the people already live there and just moving from house to house. So there's not necessarily right up front a commonality that we can find.
Right.
We have a beautiful luxury of, boom, we already know the first commonality.
Right.
Let's talk about lifestyle. Let's talk about living in paradise.
Right. They have an appetite for change. They have a certain leisure or value system that they want. Right.
Correct. They're considering taking some risks and packing up everything and moving. And we know how exciting and exhilarating that is. And that must feed them as well.
Or they don't. We're talking to a husband and wife prospect and all of a sudden one of the partners says, yeah, but I don't know if I want to move so far away from my grandchildren or my children. That's really a key indicator. We're going to send you all the information and connect with you and give you what you ask for, but we may not put a great deal of effort into that until we've had another conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we've gotten over that obstacle. We realize that's not an issue. They're going to come live with us or visit us or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah. So after this reality check and you send them, if you're still interested, we're here. We'll talk you through the process and help you navigate some of these changes and some of this risk that you're taking. But in the meantime, it would, again, help shrink that list of the more likely prospects than the unlikely ones. You could vet those maybe earlier in that pipeline, perhaps.
Right.
I'm proposing that's.
Yeah, because it actually ends up, if we don't vet those, we do become more of a salesperson, because you don't really sell real estate, right? Like we show people homes, think about the homes they love. We talk about the pros and the cons, and if we're good at what we do, we emphasize the cons because we want eyes wide open.
Yep.
If we're having to sell them on moving here, then that's way before really where our job should be beginning.
Right.
We should be beginning
well, we end up spending so much time doing what we could do to get them further,
right,
to where they make the decision to not do so,
and
as opposed to
exactly. They were never going to do it. They were never going to do it if as soon as they find out what this is actually going to involve, if you could figure that out sooner than later, again, that would save your resources. And look, this isn't just for the sake of like being the sharpest salespeople in the room. It's also, you do have other prospects, other people who are deserving of your time, who, you can make their dreams come true. And if you're wasting your time on people who aren't willing and able to do what it's going to take to make that leap to Hawaii, you're denying those other prospects your talents.
Right.
Okay. In an effort to help us sort of draw to a close here, I want to point out the theme that has been present through the whole conversation that I've had the pleasure of being on today. No, wait, what is F? Focus?
Yes.
It's a 5-letter F word. Is what's required of focus is the ability and willingness to say no. And that's excruciating for some folks.
It is.
Right?
It is.
You have to say no to other opportunities that aren't the ones you should be focusing on. It requires that you say no to prospects who they're not going to go anywhere. They're wasting their time and yours. And frankly, the customers who are willing to say yes, if you could actually find the time to invest in them. And being able to say no. Now, no is a very difficult word for most people. And I'd propose this. Oftentimes, no is best couched if you can say, no, not me. No, not now. No, not ever. Of course, sometimes is one. But there are other ways that you could...
Not like that.
Yeah. You could steer them to other places. There's, right?
Right.
So it's no, not me, but I can find you somebody else. It's no, not now. But once you're at this decision point, give me a call again or let me know and we'll reconnect and we'll find you that thing. Or it's just, no, I don't think we're actually the ones to hook you up here.
Yeah, and maybe and no, not dinner or happy hour. We'll be happy to send you information. Happy to keep you posted on what's available, but we don't need to cultivate a life relationship. That's part of what I'm seeing here. Like there are clients that we have. Will identify that it may not be a fit to spend a great deal of time together. We're here strictly to give you real estate information.
Right. I'll lean into this one more time. You two are two of the most generous people I've ever had the privilege of knowing in my life. And I don't just blow smoke up your skirt here. That's not my style. And in not honing your ability to say no in whatever creative way you need to the opportunities, again, that abundance of opportunities that are out there, in not honing your ability and having the discipline and the focus to say no to those things that are not worth your time, you're denying those who will be worthy of saying yes to, because you're too distracted from one thing or another, whether it's your marketing strategy or where you're putting your efforts in the business. But saying no to the things that are enticing I mean, that's why it's a distraction. You see the potential in it. That's, again, one of your strengths. And if you don't have a leash on that ability to find opportunity in things and recognize where you're going to get the bang for the buck, you're denying so many people of your generosity, because you're moving 1,000 things an inch instead of one thing a mile.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a really astute way to look at it.
Yeah, that's great, Dan. Thank you.
Well, it's a privilege to know you guys and to even have this conversation with you. And as if I've got anything to teach you guys, we should be flipping the tables on this in this conversation. So if you didn't learn anything, hopefully some listeners got a couple of ideas about a marketing strategy and about their own business as well.
Yeah, I am kind of inclined to. I know you kind of be demure and deferring a little of the value that you bring. Enormous amount of things. There's so much that we covered.
So much.
There was some marketing discussion, but really the bit about the essentialism and identifying some places to really focus on what matters, and where we may be giving ourselves away in order to feed some other aspect of ourselves that is not. It's compartmentalized, separate from the business, and to be just really clear about that.
Yeah,
and that's enormously valuable.
Well, to all of our listeners and to everybody who loyally follows the Clearing Obstacles podcast, I want to thank you for your attention, your time, of your resources. Hopefully it's valuable to you, and make sure if you are ever in the South Pacific region that you're looking up Go Big Island Life. Bobby and Gretchen Harttown, thank you guys very much for your time today. Love you.
Thank you so much.
Go Big Island Life on Instagram, and on Facebook, Go Big Island.
Perfect.
And GoBigIslandLife.com.
Look in the show notes for the resources and the places where you can find Bobby and Gretchen outside of
We appreciate you, Dan.
Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha.
We hope you've gotten the value you were looking for on today's episode. And if you want more like this, please subscribe to the Clearing Obstacles podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can go to clearingobstacles.com for more information, and there you'll find links to other episodes, as well as how you can get in touch with us to set up your own customized coaching experience on a regular basis to clear your own obstacles. Your business should serve your life. So let us help you get there from here, because nobody should do this on their own. We also want to thank you for listening and gratefully acknowledge everyone who helped make this podcast possible. And a special thanks to our Supreme Assistant and Navigator, Noah Wertheiser, to Arctic E for the brilliant musical themes of Clearing Obstacles, and to the team at Hivecast for your amazing work and legendary patience.